Hey, can you guys hear me? Squeaky chair or fart. Squeaky chair. So can you guys hear me? Okay, you can. Alright. There's a delay. Yeah, so we had a bit of a crisis. I was supposed to be preparing for the trip to Stockholm, but we had some pretty significant bugs to sort out because 1.21 really blew up the mod pretty significantly, and we'd been working off a different branch with our repository, and then when we merged our two branches and updated the mod to 1.21, it reintroduced a number of issues. So I wasn't sure I wanted to stream today or not, just because I wanted to be able to get ready for the trip. But I realized I also needed to test for all the potential bugs that may have been introduced as a result of the merge. And with me being in Stockholm, I'm not going to be around to fix any bugs on before release. So I want to make extra sure so you guys will need to watch. Right now, what you're looking at is I'm testing out Great Predators again, KJ's Great Predator system, because one of the bugs was that he'd done some significant revisions to Casus Belli, and there was some code put into numerous Casus Belli which caused just the engine to freak out like crazy, and it decreased performance by about 40%. It's just another example of an engine issue where if you strain it in peculiar places, you can end up with really wacky results. So now we're just making sure that so basically what we did was we migrated some of the code to a yearly census, so that there wouldn't be so much it wouldn't be so bulky, That's what I'm kind of learning is, you learn about the limitations of the engine, and when because MNT 2.0 stresses the engine in ways that were never intended, it tends to create some unexpected results. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait to see if the Ottomans declare one more war, because the Ottomans started out as a Great Predator, and it doesn't give them any bonuses. We actually removed most of the Ottoman special cheat bonuses, and instead it just makes them more discreetly aggressive. And the vanilla AI was kind of dumb. If there was an isolated enemy, they wouldn't go after them, or they wouldn't be aggressive in the right places. So KJ wrote up the Great Predator system to make specific countries go to war a bit smarter. Yeah, they ate Bulgaria about as fast as history. So our Ottomans behave ahead of history. I'll wait for that war. I'm going to have to maybe fix a few more bugs. Oh yeah. So for instance, I need to fix I need to disable corruption, unfortunately. State corruption. That'll be one of the first things I work on later to implement. But right now it's not refined enough. I don't want to release it along with everything else. So let's go ahead and dig it up. Let's see, pop. It was in estates. state events, probably. Yeah. Index for all the states. So, you know, when I do all my events, normally most modders use the paradox system of mean time to happen and stuff like that. I use a separate system, which works on a ticker. And then what it means is that most events there is a random aspect to it, but they're not completely random when they show up. They show up in a more logical and consistent manner with some random variability. These are those privilege events that pop up when an estate demands a privilege. And I'm trying to get to the privileges game burgers. We want the state corruption one, which I think is around somewhere maybe. Oh, it's already disabled. Alright, well that's good. Alright, so that's one thing down. Let's see how the Ottomans are doing. I think Ottomans are in recuperation mode. This is what great predators do, is they eat like crazy, and then they sit down for a snooze, and then they digest what they ate, and then they go on an eating rampage again later. When I played the ERE, or when I played the Romans in my game, which I will return to before the end of the night, great predators were disabled, so the Ottomans weren't behaving as cleverly. So it probably would have been harder for me to beat them. Oops. Okay. Yeah, so checking for a few irregularities in game. We had there was basically Paradox in 1.21 changed the way that I guess their mod compiler interpreted the code. And so what it meant is that certain code we'd used was then ended up having a different meaning in different circumstances. And so, I mean, when we started 1.21, everything just exploded. Like there were trillions of people in the world, and it was just going totally haywire. We're gonna see Byzantium mega. Yeah, done up like a kipper. There's a predator system, and then there's a great predator system. Predator system is like a 10-year thing. Like, ooh, I feel strong. I'm gonna go out conquering. Great predator system looks around, and if the country is doing well, and the region around them with the same culture group is balkanized, then they go into like a 50-year conquest mode, and then they come up with a long-term plan. So now you see, right? They're trying to unite the Bulgarian culture group because it's part of their culture group. Then they're going to go probably for the rest of the Balkans, and then for the rest of Anatolia after that. Yeah, SPS, LLC, they should both be active. Yeah, Bong Bong, a lot of people have been complaining about Serbia. Serbia has a bunch of personal unions all over the place, and that's what constitutes the Serbian nation. But not that many. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of people have been complaining about it. I have to talk to someone about it. Aw, you let them occupy Izmit? Fail. Yeah, I can still be pretty stupid sometimes. They must be fighting not just one enemy. Okay, so I think Ottomans are working fine. There's one more thing I'd like to do that could be generating some confusion. I'll start up a new game. Yeah, done up like a kipper. One of the main issues was you guys, your names are no matter how many times I say them. So what was breaking the game was technically we had mainly me had how do I explain it? You know how there's so many variables in game? Well, if one of them accidentally gets cleared, like during a cleanup process so you don't bloat save games, if some of those important variables get cleared and then they are used to divide another variable, it ends up dividing that other variable by 0. And anyone who has any fluency in math knows why that's a problem, right? Previously, whenever a variable was divided by 0, it used to default to just being divided by 1. And so whenever we made a scripting error and accidentally divided a variable by 0, because another variable was set to 0, it was ignored, you know. But basically, when they made that change and had, and what they did was they had, instead of having it default to dividing by 1, they had it to default to dividing by 0.001. So that meant that any value got multiplied by 1,000. And so in growth calculations, a lot of growth values were being multiplied by 1,000. And so you'd see nomadic tribes, for instance, with 12 million people in one province. And then just like conquering everything. So that was the problem. And so all of those previously masked errors suddenly got unmasked and then blew everything up. The Roman Republic. Okay, we've gone. Actually, got around longer. I gotta wait for the estates to pop up. Let's go to England because as you can see, there's more estate changes. So the CDs are disabled. I need to give a better reason for that. I need to, instead of just disabling it with a flag, I need to add in how many months are remaining. So the way I'm going to do that, I promise I'll get to my Byzantium game after that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the startup events. Remember, the startup events initialize and procedurally generate all the variables that are in the game, mostly. City burgers. I'm going to go to the section with where all of the estates are initialized. Then I'm going to set some variables. Value equals. So I want, let's see, I basically want all of the estate interactions to be disabled until all the calculations have been done, which takes till pretty much 1959. So that's about 24 months, right? So let's see. Startup event fires in February, so it'll be about 22 months. Dunk dunk. Let's see, and then I gotta get all of the variable names. I'm gonna make a list on my other screen of all the variable names I need. Let's see, I need to if I remember what I'm doing here. So nobility, that's greater nobles. I want to disable demote nobles. So demote nobles time left. So now I can get rid of this right here because this was what was disabling it previously. But I basically want the value I want this value to show up. See that orange down there, months remaining? I want that to show up at game start. So players know at game start, oh, my interactions aren't working because, you know, there's still time left. Previously, it's just they're grayed out. And even people on the development team were like, why, it's broken. Why isn't it working? So I can't let that stay. Okay, so GN privileges left. And then there we go. Demand support. Oh, I think we skipped favors maybe? Yeah. You guys get the idea. So now I'm doing it with each of these. Of course, modding a lot of the time is just like busy work, which I don't mind, but I imagine is not always fun to watch. Okay, so now confronts. This is where you revoke privileges. Oh, we already have this one actually, so we're good. Support offensive war. Not sure this is a problem. Maybe we can leave that. Support defensive war. Okay, so we got the nobility ones. Now we want to get lesser nobles. This probably all just looks like gibberish to a lot of you, but see, here's the interaction itself. Give you a little background. So promote nobles. See, here's the interaction. This is what is encased inside, and you'll notice here is the actual interaction itself. And when you click on it, it fires a little event, right? And then that's where you would normally see all of the various options, right? So like when I go to estates, right, it's actually firing an event, and then the event calculates variables that are relevant in order to be viewed. So anyway, okay, so we remove this. Promotes or promote demote nobles time left. Is that right? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because it's the same variable for the greater nobles and lesser nobles. Okay, next. Okay, privilege time left. Favors time left. And since I'm shipping out soon and trying to resolve these last dangling issues, I won't get around to your questions as quickly. Oh, we're using privileges, that's right. And then war, we're good. Alright, then we just have burgers left. And then we just stick it all into the startup event, we test it, and then I think we can get off to our Roman game. Okay, so okay. You know, these simple things you would think wouldn't take so much work, right? You would think like, oh, just switching it so that you have a little timer to show you how long it's going to take. It would seem like that would be like a 2-second thing, but it is not, and that's why game development takes a long time. Okay, so now I have all the variables on a little screen on my right, off screen. Go to my startup. Now I'm just gonna, let's see, oops. I'm gonna copy them all in just a second. I think I need a few extra just in case. Okay. Oops, that didn't work out. Okay. Now let's fix the yuckiness. technically, for those of you who aren't coders, this doesn't really matter. This makes no actual difference. It's just white space. I mean, you don't want white space, but when the compiler's reading it, it's not going to notice. It's not going to notice that anything is wrong. But it's obviously harder for you to deal with. Okay, so we should be good here. Now we test it. And now I look at all your comments. Let's see. Squashing bugs. So, Demian, let's see, this is from the Socratic Gamer. I like your name. What work is still necessary to be completed before the full release at the end of the month? Yeah, someone probably answered already that it's being released in like 3 days or something. So, yeah, and done up like a kipper. The reason I don't want the interactions to be up for 2 years is the interactions will malfunction and set all kinds of weird flags, and that's why anyone who was watching Arumba, his nobles were like promoting like crazy, because all the various, I mean, you see, I'll kind of show you right now. When we go into the game, you'll notice that there is none of the modifiers on any other provinces. And nothing is set except for a few buildings. See, no modifiers, hardly anything, right? And so the game has to run all of this code, and some of it's split up because some of it requires other bits and other bits require other bits, and so it's kind of a feedback process, like a feedback loop. And in order for it to level out accurately, it takes about 2 years. And so if you start clicky, clicky, clicky all over a bunch of different interactions, then it can really, really screw things up, or you can raise 10,000 regiments of levies and stuff like that. This is some weird stuff happens, right? So it's disabled until everything is stable. That's the general idea. Let's see. So now I'm going to check to see if it shows up. Oops, I should speed this up. And yeah, Kalak, absolutely, readability is important. My readability when I first did the development overhaul was really horrible. But now I consider it pretty good. Even, I guess for someone who doesn't have any experience or was ever told how to do it properly. Yeah, bong bong. It's a law of independent assortment. It's kind of like tiny, even something trivial. Like a commoner not getting on his horse a minute sooner to take some grain to the market could, in 100 years, could result in every single person in the world being completely different than had he gotten on the horse 1 minute sooner. Because there's a whole lot of spermies swimming around in a thimble of semen, and if one different one just happens to fertilize the egg in a pregnancy, you get a completely different human being. And so think about how easy it is, to make that change. Okay, so now we should there. See? We're 12 months out. Months remaining. Yeah. Okay. Can you please go over which countries are the most complete and most of the ideas of the mod team have been realized? or which ones would miss certain functions or be added later. So anything pretty much, I'll go into observer mode and show you. Pretty much anything in Central Asia is pretty unbalanced because tribes aren't there. Anyone who wants to colonize is going to have a slightly, well, I'd say a significantly aberrant game because the colonization features are not in. China and India, not as bad, but they still have quite a bit of work to do. Middle East is generally fine. Eastern Europe is okay, except the hordes are too weak. So normally with tribes, the White Horde terrorizes all of the Russian principalities, but in most hands-off games now, without tribes, everyone just kind of stomps on the White Horde. And then the rest of Europe is pretty fine. Yeah, Toxic Turtle, I'll be explaining that later. I'm going to try to come up with a system where I separate my streams, right? I have more of like the gaming and occasional bug fix stream. That way people can see new and upcoming features in action. Then I'm going to do an official development streams where I'm actively developing new features, and then people can come in and comment and say what they'd like to see and stuff like that. Okay, so let's go ahead, load my Byzantium game, which I miss. Hopefully I didn't overwrite it or anything. There we go. Yeah, this was incompatible. It's from a different build, so hopefully it loads. If not, then Granada game. Yay! Strategos with HRE mechanics, not too hard. Okay. Yeah, freeholders are going to be really cool if they ever get finished. Part of how much gets done depends on whether I can make a go at actually displacing some of my work with programming income somehow. But so I don't really know how much will get done. But countries with a lot of freeholders, the idea is that they can be difficult to work with as middlemen as far as getting resources out of them, right? So you won't have interactions like this. But the advantage is that freeholders will spend almost all of their income improving their own local circumstances and less income trying to fight other estates and things of that nature. And so when you get lots of freeholders, they tend to increase your development significantly. Kind of like what happened in Belgium, Netherlands, and England during the non-enclosure movement, when a lot of land and power ended up in the hands of freeholders, and then they ended up basically bootstrapping the development of the whole regions and generating a lot of prosperity. And then what'll be nice eventually is if they, if I can get around to making the system where your government changes based on your estate. So if you have a lot of burghers and freeholders, then you become a republic, that kind of thing. Clergy estates are way down the line. Tribes and freeholders are much closer. Yeah, Mega. Yeah, the mechanic will be cool if it gets finished. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of freaking mechanics that have been made. It's not for lack of effort and not for lack of motivation or desire. It's more an issue of,
No one's getting paid.
No one's getting paid to do it, right? I mean, that's kind of why I'm thinking about streaming now, is it could be a way to sort of generate a source of income and justify the time that gets spent on it, Roman territories in central Italy. Yeah, it could be fun. Yeah, Zach, that may be outside the era. Although it did kind of happen. You had a peasant few peasant republics that kind of behaved in that way. How long is this? Whatever, take some money. Carl Jones, yeah, they've had some changes. Merchant republics have had some changes. They have the factions have been revised, and they are rewarded for not getting too big. In Cayetano, would you be interested in having someone come in and work on a supply system? Could be a tricky thing to do. We talked about it quite a bit, but if you brainstorm, then that could be interesting. If you can come up with some good ideas, but try fielding them in the forum first, and then if that's how I got into modding, right? I basically went to the forums and said, hey, I have this idea, and the other team members were like, oh, that's cool, why don't you come and work on it? And so I did. That's how pretty much everybody ends up on the team. Okay, let's figure out what I was doing here. I've smashed all of my existential rivals. I have no major threats remaining. I was thinking about conquering the rest of the Crimea. Gradually move more into Anatolia. I think I really wanted to improve my tech here because I really want to end this game being a highly advanced Roman Empire, which is the center of culture and knowledge. Oh, you know what? There was one thing I was intending to do. There's 3,000 ducats right now in Constantinople. I wanted to make it so that continental art and intellectual centers added more to education. I can do that a little later. That would be nice to have on release. So let's check my income. I'm getting tons of money from trade. My estates are building lots of stuff all over the place. If you recall, they built in Thessalonica and Gallipoli and a couple of other places. I'm wondering if the best thing I could do is actually build some more workshops and try to get my production up. We'll see. Whoops. Hello. That's why my income didn't. Yeah, I'm losing tons and tons of money. All right. I was thinking about attacking southern Italy. Retake the old Magna Graecia provinces. But, then I'm next to Spain, and Spain is kind of my rival. Actually, are they my rival? Let's see. Yeah. Yep. So it'd kind of be War of the Worlds. What is the difference, Sarov? What is the difference between factions and estates and the merchants' republics? So factions represent a breakdown in your burgher class. Let me show you. So, behold, burghers dominate Venice. That is why there are a merchant republic, right? Eventually, I want to make it so that if you are any other country that's a monarchy and you get tons of burghers, then you can flip to a merchant republic. And so then these, the dominant class, right, estate is then subdivided, and you have traders, and their power comes from how much money you're making from trading. The guilds, which represents how much money you're making from artisans, from urban manufacturing. Then aristocrats, and aristocrats represent those who aristocrats actually are kind of like a breakdown of your non-burghers. And so what happens is the more powerful the aristocrats become, the more nobles you get, the worse your republican tradition gets. And so what that means is that if you conquer too much as a merchant republic, then you gradually lose your republican tradition. Like if you conquer too much and have tons of nobles, then it causes you to eventually convert into a monarchy. But I guess I should mention that the factions give you special bonuses too, so it can pay to stay small. Carl Jones, this is going to be a loaded statement, but you are not remotely like my experience with most mod makers. Really? Why do you say that? I'm just curious. One thing I do notice with a lot of modders sometimes is they can get really irritated with the people that actually play their mods, which is kind of weird. Take off Fog of War. New World is really screwy at the moment. Oops, I'm gonna take it off. There's very little colonization. Spain should be colonizing. I don't know why they're not. Not something I've dealt with much. I was hoping I could take over on colonization, but it's hard not to step on people's toes sometimes. So we'll see. What I'm able to do depends on what other modders are or are not inspired to do at any given moment. So we'll see. Oops. Not thinking here. There. Oh, thank you. Live stream number 11. I'll get the hang of this eventually. Switzerland could be really interesting. I was thinking if there were a way to make Condorati macaroni be able to loot provinces in other people's wars, then that could be very, very interesting. So I'm gonna really put my brain to finding a way to do that, because it'd be so much fun to play a united Switzerland game that then just like jumped into everybody else's wars, like the Condorata macaroni really did do, and then just kind of ravage everything and bring all the money back. That would be a lot of fun. I gotta think about that. So we had someone, 'Tis a Flesh Wound, working on colonization, sorta. But lost steam, real life issues, or just stuff like that. Most of the time, making all the kinds of features you see here, all that you've seen in the mod, it takes a lot of inspiration and focus. And honestly, when it comes to modding, since no one's forcing you to do it and no one's paying you to do it, it's extremely easy to lose motivation and kind of just forget about it. Take Carthage. Yeah, well, the problem is Fez is like uber powerful. Burgers demand privilege. Go away. It's not too bad, but question is how much are the burgers? Okay. Should offer favors while I have a chance. I could actually, Enrique, if I can get my stability up. Having a real hard time maintaining decent stability. Actually, I should probably check. Points per year? Yuck. Why is my yearly multiplier so bad? Let's see. Capital maintenance, some silk, good development. I need to hide these. Maybe I should hide those now. Jeez. Oh, because I revoked a bunch of privileges earlier. I gotta wait for those to tick off. I still need more stability. Where am I gonna get more stability? Oh god, my burgers are angry. Yeah, I'm not gonna demote them while they're teed off. Maybe I can demand something here. It should be okay. How much am I paying? So why not? Yeah, overextension's killing me. But I'm not sure that hurts stability. And let's see. Miguel, why aren't you teching up while having so much mana? I was hoping to tick up my education. I think I could be right. It's been a while. I thought I put a big endowment in. No, I'm losing education. Wonderful. There's one thing I should really do here before release. Maybe I should put it in now. So you'll notice here in courts, if I click, I can see the threshold. I need that for education as well. So I'm gonna do that now. Sorry guys. Duty calls. I do want all of this to be in when you guys play, so first thing we need to do is we need to look up the thresholds for education, which is set in the census. Census is one of the most important events in the game because it recalculates all of the economic variables, adds wealth and stuff like that. So let's look for education. That should be, there's all the university stuff, calculating loss and gain in education. This is normally where it's done. Assign modifiers. This must be the old one. Okay, so levels appear to be 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 65. They get a little bit nastier there. 65 to 80, 80 to 100. Oops, bad. And then at the highest level, 100 and on. Let me write down the names of all the levels. So we have we got to get all the localizations. Let me get an example here. I want to make sure. Let's see. Okay. So I want to get all these as well. That way when I'm listing them, they all correspond to what you'll see on the modifier when you mouse over the modifier. So there's no confusion. Because you obviously just don't want two names for one thing. basically making a list on off the screen. Plus. Okay, what now? Now I need to find, let's see, this event. I need to debug so I can find which option. So I have questions about education. I guess this is a data about universities. This is as good a place as any. I have questions about education. So pop estate interactions 0.302. Pop estate interactions. See, this is why I use a number system, by the way. See, so I can navigate really easily between events. And so everything pertaining to the bureaucracy is a 300. Right, and then the event which assesses stability, that's 301. Education is next in line, so it's 302. See how that works? So if I ever need to bounce around, I can just very quickly search. Just a little system I made up on my own. Students, funding. What's that? Okay. 30. You can check in the pile maybe.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. My wife is packing for me because if I dressed myself, I'd look pretty shabby, I think. Let's see. Endowment students, which more details about funding. I think that's it. More info, that's right. So now I want to write, you can see there's not really that much here, but it's mainly just a placeholder event to give the player information. So most of the information is in the localization file. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's double check. The education of, okay. Educating your people, that's right. So here's all that information you see in the file, right? So what we want to add is we want to add a section down here that shows all of the education levels, right? So, okay. So /n adds a space. I want 2 spaces. So first section. Remember how I said white space didn't matter before when you're coding? Well, it does matter when you are. Whoops. It does matter when you're inside of a localization file. It does observe spaces. I guess it's like a string or something. Okay. So then we add the next one. Doink. Then we add the next one. Doink. And we just go down the list. Doink. We're almost there. Once we're done with this, I won't waylay us with much more modding stuff. I want to kind of get to a satisfying conclusion with my Roman game, but at the same time, I want to make sure that you guys have a good experience in a couple of days once you start playing the game. Okay, let's see where that gets us. So, there's nothing here right now, but we will save. We will restart, and then we'll see how it looks. Most of the time it ends up looking like crap, and then you realize like, oh, I didn't do this or that or the other thing. While it's loading, I will okay. The glorious Banter, 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 banter. Just going through. Oh, here you can see a nice pretty loading screen. Let me get that up. Done up like a kipper. Could you do that threshold with development 2? Or would that be too complicated? Yes, it would. Development works a bit differently, and the composite's quite a bit more complex. And it's shifting too. It's being tuned a lot more often. Not a bad idea, but it is kind of tricky. Don't forget to add what each level of court and education does. Yeah, so VLJA. That'll take a bit longer. If you could remind me in a bit, and maybe I'll go back to it. But you have to embed modifiers inside of tooltips. So, ta-da! You see, I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Localizations, you're supposed to observe white space. So, let's see. Oh, duh. Yeah, I didn't add any white space. That's the obvious problem. Oh, I thought I did, but when I pasted it in, it made only one space. Let's see. Let's figure this out. So, I want the space to be here, right? Okay, so it was observing the space I pasted in, kind of, but not really. Okay, so let me see here. Let me pull up my other screen. These kinds of little things pop up all the time. So we'll go, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this one needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because there's, 4 digits there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 100's a little bit. Oh no, actually, I'm dumb. Back here should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because we're trying to make it straight, right? We want it to look straight like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sure there's like a smarter way to do this that I have not thought of. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again. Let's see if that does the trick. Will Republican dictatorships get some changes? Maybe in the future. I don't know if they do now. Let's see. Attack Tripoli. Could. Depends on the trade there. Okay. Alright. It's not quite the same, especially since M&T Portuguese is separated from Castilian culture. Why form Spain when you can keep that glorious blueberry shape color? Institutions. Kami Lenin. How do institutions work? Institutions spread generally based on urbanization. They spread in urban areas faster. They spread wherever there is more education. They spread wherever there is more centers of art and culture. They spread especially where there's a lot of trade. So let's take a look at the Map mode. Institutions. So surprise, surprise, surprise! All the places that have either lots of trade or lots of culture got all the institutions first. You can even go up to Novgorod, and you can see, surprise, major center of trade. So of course they are attracting the necessary institutions. They also have a local art and intellectual center, and they act as kind of like antennae to attract institutions. Okay, let's continue. Oh wait, no, we have to check to see if all of our prettiness worked. Yucky. We'll have to find a better way in the future. I'm sure we'll figure something out eventually, but that looks good enough for now, I guess. Maybe if I put little lines or something. Oh well. Culture groups in the Middle East. Everyone always complains about the culture groups, so I'm almost tempted not to show you, but oh well. Alright. With the Kurds and with the Persians, of course. The Armenians. The Caucasus. And of course, this is what everybody despises. Greeks in with the Turks and the Bulgarians, which I would, if it were up to me, it would be Greek and Pontus. Bulgarians would be in with the Serbs. And then you'd have the Turkish groups, and then maybe like a cultural union like way down the line or something. But that still doesn't really necessarily make sense. I do kind of want to have a nicer court. I did want to improve my education. Dang it. What about my universities? Ew, yuck. Conquering all that stuff made my people dumber. We have to fix that. We really have to fix that. Do we have a university here? No, we don't. We do have a workshop. Alright. University, yes. Look for all my major cities. Of course, I never really did much with the Balkans as far as cities are concerned. I probably should have. Actually, I know where I can build a university if I don't have one. No, I don't. Oh, but I'm still coring. Where is the Albanian group? It's right over here. It's in with Greeks. I'd love to do even a slightly more sophisticated culture system. Yeah, I should build up Athens, shouldn't I? It's actually not a bad city. Actually, if I build a workshop, that should help. I'm broke. That's a problem, isn't it? Once my overextension's down, I should be in good shape. Yeah, we've had Pelpel's done really great work on a lot of the art stuff. He joined the team recently, but he's done great work. He's a pretty busy guy, like me, but he's found time to make it happen. Oh God, really? Ugh. Really don't want to. God, I need the stability points. I need the loyalty. That just burns. Sarv, no. Prussia is no longer completely and stupidly OP. I really pushed hard to get idea groups balanced so that, you know, no one has space marines. I'll live with the corruption, I guess. Who can resist? You know what? Whoa, 75 months. 75 months. Something's not right about that picture. I'm gonna try something here. Huh. There we go. Huh, I wonder why it's at 75. Oh, because I was looking at favors, derp. Or something. What was I looking at? I was looking at... Yeah, revoke privileges peacefully. Okay, so it's working properly. I've been not been getting enough sleep. So, here's the thing. You should snipe the new world. No, I've been getting corruption down, actually, believe it or not. I've been slowly fighting it. But dude, this is the point, like, fighting corruption's a bitch. Like, keeping your country clean, like, conquering and keeping your country clean is like a difficult thing to do, you know? You can conquer the world easy if you just sell out to your estates like crazy, but then your corruption's going to be sky high, and then what do? Artists. Demian, what's the benefit of keeping loyalty of estates high? So here's the thing. Here's how it's supposed to work. What is supposed to happen, I'm a little ashamed I haven't got here yet, but what's supposed to happen is when loyalty gets high, let me go in the reverse direction. When loyalty goes too low and it goes below 30, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to end up in a vendetta phase with your estates. And at that point, they get angry at you. They freeze all of the interactions that would give them loyalty. And then they start attacking you with whatever means are at their disposal. And during that process, they'll be hurting you, but you'll have opportunities to revoke privileges on the cheap. And so when you have low loyalty, even if you're not in the red, you have the danger of dipping down into the red and ending up in that vendetta phase. Or you can go into that vendetta phase on purpose, you know, specifically so you can revoke privileges on the cheap if you feel like you are in a good enough position to be able to take those hits from your estates. When loyalty is high, you're safe because you don't have to worry about dipping below into the red, right? So if you're expecting to fight a war or a series of wars against powerful rivals, you don't want to have low loyalty because you don't want your estates kicking you in the balls while you're fighting a hard war, right? So having high loyalty is good in that regard. However, when estates have high loyalty and they feel they end up feeling entitled because they feel like they're in with the government, they expect more, and so when their loyalty is high, they tend to demand privileges faster, which means you accumulate corruption sources faster. So if you don't mind accumulating those corruption sources faster, and you want to always be on good terms with your estates, it's not that difficult. but there's a long-term cost. The problem right now is that I do not have a negative loyalty estates kick you in the balls system in place yet. I have some code and some stuff that's not ready, but I was thinking, sort of, that's one of the eventual things I want to do. Estates would send their levies against you, right, when they get angry. Bong Bong, technically, yes. Estate managing gets easier with better tech. And they get marginalized more. So the question is, it feels like I should come up with something to make them angry when you go below 30 loyalty. Like, there should be something there, because it feels like there's a big gap in gameplay if there isn't. It could just be something as simple as like a triggered modifier, right? Something simple. Yeah, Christopher, haven't sorted that part out yet. But I have considered that, greater nobles that are disloyal could technically want to defect. And then, if they're on the border, they could give the province, they could become a core of your rival and then basically invite them in, So the question is, should I go ahead and try to... This is something that's important for you guys, technically, because you're going to be playing the game soon. Should we have a negative loyalty feature? It'll take me... I've written half of it already. A basic feature. They blow up your house with manure explosions. Eventually, I'd like to have all kinds of crazy stuff happen, and what they do to you is based on what kind of estate is trying to screw you. Like, tribals will be absolutely horrible. They just raid you and they steal all your stuff. Burghers, are more subtle about it, but still have a chance of inviting in a mercenary army or something like that. And then nobles tend to be more like, okay, if we're strong enough, we raise our levies against you, and then if we win the revolt, then we get extra privileges or something like that, Let's do a straw poll. Straw poll. Do you want a basic angry estate mechanic now? Yes or no? Could take anywhere from half hour to an hour to write. I could take a break. I could write like half of it and then come back to it later at night. I'm going to create the straw poll. I'll let you guys decide. I'd like to make it, and it would be good for your game, obviously, when you start playing. Let's see. Let me... Arrow. That's the general idea, is that you estates aren't there to get milked. So far the estates have way more negatives than positives. Well, yeah, they're there to be managed. There's no one escapes them. This is the classic problem that every single country and empire in the history of the human species has had to deal with. Internal struggle, internal strife. A country is truly powerful when it's managed to strip away all of that corruption and get all of its internal powers in line toward a specific cause, right? And so, yeah, they're supposed to be more of a pain in the ass than a help, I would say, in the long run. Yeah, or I like that idea. Lesser nobles can cause riots by agitating the serfs. Yeah, they would each have their own kind of way of agitating. Octavian, yes, a disaster system would be the way to go. That would take a long time. Right now, I'm just thinking of adding in a modifier just so that the player has to weigh the costs and benefits of high and low loyalty. So let's see. Okay, overwhelmingly yes. So we're gonna make it. even if we lose a few people who are watching. But in the end, technically, you'll get to play with it, so that's good. Let's go simple for now. So if you were watching the previous stream, what we've already done is we made a system whereby you are prevented from giving loyalty stuff for a certain period of time after you dip below 30. So let's go back and refresh our memory there. So we've kind of put half of it in place already. Let me close some of this stuff. This is getting really cluttered. I'm like a hoarder when it comes to code. Burgers. Okay, so we want burgers. State scaling effects. Keeps the pulse up. Okay. So we're looking for favors. So if GN loyalty, GN below 30 loyalty, right? We had something like that for every single country. So what we can do, right? This was assigned somewhere. I think it was a scripted effect somewhere. Let's find it. So we're going to go up to common. Scripted effects are kept in the common folder. You can see down here. Scripted effects are like functions. And it's like a code block that then you can just, with one line, stick wherever you want. So if you have repetitive code repeatedly that you have to use, you just summarize it in the scripted effects. And then, this was assigned in a scripted, estate scaling effects. So whenever the greater nobles remove loyalty, there's a code block here that checks to see if estate greater nobles loyalty goes below 31%. If it does, boom, you get this. Now we want to add something extra. We want to add in some lines of code that will hurt you. So help me brainstorm here. The greater nobles, lesser nobles, and burghers need to hurt you in different ways, right? Go ahead and say what you guys think. I mean, burghers, like commercial type stuff, right? Octavian. Demian. I got mentioned in Demian live stream. Life goals. Since you're going to code again, you asked me to remind you to add a tooltip with modifiers for each level of the court and education. We can do that too. I'll do another straw poll after this. Artists, you can already disband an estate completely. You just have to kick them while they're down often enough, and then they'll disappear. Eventually, could you just make the events more likely to happen the less they... Yeah, Christopher, that was eventually the intention, was it would be like a continuum. So theoretically, your estate could have 50 loyalty, and you could still get one of those cheap privilege revocation events. It would just be really unlikely, right? It would be much more likely. You would get more bad estate events at 25 loyalty, 30 loyalty. But in order to do that, it would take about 3 or 4 months to make a true dynamic estate event system. And so this is why we have the arbitrary cutoffs right now, unfortunately. But you're right, Christopher. That's the ideal outcome. You probably, if you were in the forums, you probably read me talk about this before. Damaged hour? No, estates definitely change in power throughout the game. So here in Byzantium, the state only has 30% control, and the estates have the rest. Let's go to Scotland's. The state has 50%, and the estates have 50%. See, distribution's different where you go and throughout the game. The more you centralize, the more absolutism you get, the more that tends to help too in asserting control over your estates. Okay, so let's get on track. So people, let's see, I'm looking at your ideas now. Goodness gracious. So, yeah, lose manpower. That would make sense. Yeah, losing manpower if you have strong like nobles, yeah. Let's see, if you play it well. So burghers can't reduce trade power. And the reason is, well, could they? Trade efficiency would be better with burghers for them to hurt trade efficiency. And production and tax in general. Yeah, it could work. Yeah, greater nobles, I think like revolt risk, right, would make sense. Oh, increases in autonomy, actually. So I think every estate theoretically could have like increased autonomy type stuff in provinces they own, right? Let me write that down. So I think that makes sense for pretty much every estate. So burgher, making a list. I'm gonna check it twice. What we'll do is make a list here. Greater nobles, lesser nobles, burghers. Really shouldn't be doing this before PDocsCon. So plus autonomy, plus autonomy, plus autonomy. We don't have to make it a burst. We can just make it like an extra autonomy equals plus 0.01 or something. There we go, 10. So that rate would raise your autonomy by 10 during the period. It would push it up in that direction. Okay. Well, if we want to make it more painful, make it 15. It's only 5 years. Presumably stability. Stability. And then revolt risk. Yeah, General Azaz. I'll be adding persecuting a specific estate if they piss me off. That's what these types of dynamics would love to get around. Okay, taxes, manpower. Let's make taxes. We'll make burghers, taxes, and production. And we'll make it local trade power. Stability, revolt risk, stability. Everyone can cause stability damage. That kind of makes sense. So of course, these will all scale based on. So first off, we need global effects. Then we need province level effects. So these will all be tossed into the province. Well, there's enough stuff causing stability damage, and that's gonna take more time. So I'm gonna hack stability out. Taxes, production, local trade power. So burghers will really hurt your income. Prestige. Could be a good case for legitimacy with lesser nobles. addition. I may remove some of these. Reducing merchant numbers would be cruel, because it would what would happen? It would randomly bump one of your merchants out of a random trade node, and that would really annoy players. I'm gonna avoid Diplotech's a good idea. So is trade efficiency, but I'm gonna avoid global effects right now because it's twice as much work code-wise, and this is all going to be replaced within like a few weeks of release. Greater autonomy and less tax from nobles. Yeah, we did that. Burghers or high nobles could reduce urban pull. Interesting idea. Takes a lot of code work though. We're going for simple at the moment. This is just totally a stopgap, just to maintain proof of concept. I think revolt risk is probably reasonable for both lesser and greater nobles, but what we can do is we can have revolt risk be worse for greater nobles. And then we can add manpower for greater and noble and lesser nobles. Lesser nobles give you more manpower though, because they're easier to control and get under your thumb. David DW. I thought Demi stopped developing. Sort of, kind of. Streaming actually kind of put some excitement under my wings again. But I'm also going to try to come up with some kind of monetization plan. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for me to make active development an actual practical thing in my life. As it's hard to justify working less in real life just to do a all volunteer mod. Okay, so greater nobles. Actually, legitimacy is a global effect. I'm gonna have to carve it out. I don't want to. So is army tradition. Damn it. You'll see why having global and local effects will be a pain in the ass. You'll understand very soon. So let's try this. So is prestige. So this we may have to simplify this, unfortunately. Burghers should be able to become pirates. That would be cool. Artist. Can an estate steal from provinces' wealth? Not currently, but interesting notion. Sort of. They might want to impede reduced movement. That's a good idea. Let me pull up the list of effects and get the right code for it. Let's see, modifiers, local movement speed. Okay. That makes sense. Let's see. M&D podcast. I was thinking about doing a podcast at one point. Let's see, what's a global effect, Petreo? A global effect is something that affects the entire country. These are all effects that affect a specific province. And so if I want to have global effects and local effects apply, I need to write twice as much code in making all this happen. If this were like a weekend and I had tons of time and I had tons of development time and PDocsCon wasn't around the corner, I'd do that kind of thing. Because a lot of privileges have global and local effects. Increasing autonomy while they're rebellious would already simulate that. Fix country instead of provinces. Maybe when the nobles are disloyal, their fort should make our fort defensive decrease. We can do that. Defensiveness. I think burghers probably wouldn't do that though, just because they don't want their cities sacked. And cities always take way more damage in war and get looted way worse. So we'll just put that on nobles. Okay. Alright, defensiveness is in. Yeah, I was gonna do a pirate podcast, history of pirates, at one point, and really illustrate what it was like to truly be a pirate, and how absolutely rugged and oftentimes miserable a pirate's life was. I mean, imagine being on a ship. You've been out at sea for a week and a half, and your face is blasted with the wind and the brine, and it's encrusted on your face and under your fingernails, and you've been crapping over the side of the ship, and there's crap all over the side of the ship, and you have dysentery, and you're surrounded by 50 other guys on a ship the size of a small room, and they've all got dysentery too. Yeah, would not be much fun. But there was like treasure sometimes, kind of. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yes, supply. Reduce local supply, maybe. Okay. Well, yeah. What? Would that technically? But that would hurt. That would hurt enemies too, wouldn't it? So, I'm looking right now. I'm not sure that would be. That would almost be a good thing, right? For you. Oh, that's a great idea, VLJA. But that's what I was thinking, is that if a noble was pissed off and they plausibly had a marriage with someone in the other country, then they would say, hey, take a corps here to the other country, and then invite them into the war, and then they could, some of the levies could then get flipped over to the invading army, But that's all stuff that's going to have to come later. Combination of local attrition, local hostile attritions. A little complicated there. I feel like most of the people within M&T have their hands full, so it could be hard to get one of this to start a podcast without monetize. Exactly. Really, for me, like, honestly, guys, if I could like quit my job and do creative projects full time, then I could do whatever I wanted, But right now, otherwise, I have to choose my battles. But I was just kind of, talking off the cuff with the Pirate podcast. Actually, right before I was doing M&T 2.0, that's what I was working on, the Pirate podcast. I was getting all my historical books together and doing my research and getting ready to record. Then Alderon said, hey, look, I put pop in every province, make a pop system. And I'm like, okay, should only take about 2 months. Like a year and a half later, here we are. If the burgers get too powerful, can we have a Burger King event? I don't get it. Oh, wait, I get it. Burger King. That's funny. Okay, I think we got our stuff. Okay? I think generally make things simple for now. Greater nobles, lesser nobles, kind of make them the same. Give burgers extra autonomy. Okay. Bad effects. These are bad effects. Octavian, it may be a little confusing to the player. Local attrition. Yeah, it might combobble people's brains or something. Not worry about it. It's just, remember, this is all temporary stuff anyway. Okay, so let me move these to another screen. Now we're going to make these into modifiers, scaling modifiers, and I will show you why modding can be such a pain in the ass sometimes. Okay, so first off, this is what we have to do. We have to make a scale where we check greater noble loyalty at different intervals. I know, or do we? No, we don't need to check them at different. No, we may not need this. We may not. Sometimes you have these revelations, right? So normally you would scale a lot of effects based on the power of the estate. But if you're putting them in every province, it's already scaling, right? Because the more of the greater nobles there are, the more provinces get hit with this bad modifier. So we don't even need to scale it. So we actually might be able to do those global effects. Let's see. Okay, so we don't. Okay, so this is easy. Actually, this is really easy. Way easier than I thought. So watch. What we're actually doing is we're saying if loyalty is not at least this, then every owns province, and currently we're in the country scope. We're in the country scope. So every owned province owned by the country firing this event, with a criteria within this limit, and the criteria is has the province flag greater nobles control province, then add province modifier equals greater nobles angry. Well, let's make it more descriptive. Greater nobles low loyalty. And then we make the duration 5 years. That was easy. Now all we have to do is actually make this. Let me make sure we have the right flag too. Save. Let's just make sure we got the right flag here. Yes, that is the right flag. Before we make our modifiers, let's do this with all of the other estates. Alright, so we got our lesser nobles. Except rather than greater nobles control province, we have lesser nobles control province, and then lesser nobles low loyalty. And then we do it with our burghers. Burghers control province, and burghers low loyalty. So right now we're doing something that would crash the game technically. We are having a modifier which does not exist added to a province. We actually have to make these modifiers now. Let me, oops, crap. Move these over to a list, right? Because I have like 3 monitors. And I have, you know, lots of other notepads open. All right, so we have to actually turn these into real modifiers that exist, and then we have to localize them. So let's go ahead. And when I say we have to localize them, it means that you have to give them pretty words so that when they show up in game, it'll say greater nobles angry, and then you can give a description like, oh, greater nobles are angry because their loyalty fell below this value, and so now they are very unhappy. So now we go to our event modifiers, which is in common. Event modifiers. I think we have a special estate modifier. Yeah, here we go. And there's only about a few thousand. So this is pop, man. This is lots and lots and lots and lots of modifiers, man. We got at least 100,000 modifiers, I think. I don't even think I'm exaggerating. This is one modifier file. You should see the goods. The modifier for the urban goods and mined goods and stuff. Jesus. There's at least many thousands in just that modifier file. Okay, so now we have to give these modifiers the values that we expressed earlier. You see here in the estate travel territory, it has some. So we need autonomy. For greater nobles. This is not the right code, but I'm just gonna get it in here so we can see it, and then I'll replace it with the right code. Blink. Okay. And then I'll delete the old ones. Okay, and then lesser nobles. Doink. And then burgers. Doink. Right about now, I'm getting that instinct of like losing everyone's attention. But you know, now I'm determined. I'm determined to get this into the game so that you can all enjoy it. Okay, so here's the thing with modding. There's tons and tons of resources. And so I'm going to show you this page, which is super important. It has all of the effects and all of the triggers and all the modifiers that exist in game. See? So there's lots of modifiers you can add. The country modifiers and province modifiers. So we're going to go ahead and get the real code for local autonomy. And that looks like this. Okay. So now we can get rid of autonomy. Autonomy. I think revolt risk is local revolts risk. Whoa, I did not give you permission to flip out. Local revolts risk. No! What do you do? Oh, well, whatever. Oh, it was removed. That's why it's turning all hectic. Okay, so it must be something else. Why? Oh, unrest. Unrest. I think it's called unrest. Global unrest, local unrest. Local unrest equals... so we want this to be bad, so 5. Let's say 5. Could theoretically make it worse, right, for the greater nobles. It's pretty harsh, but we'll go with it. Manpower. Let's get the right manpower. Global manpower, extra manpower, local manpower. Modifier. Here we go. There's 2 types of manpower, right? This is a gross number. So this would be an extra 500 manpower from a province. This is a multiplier to the pre-existing manpower. We want a multiplier to the pre-existing manpower. And we want it to be bad. We can make it worse for the greater nobles. Or lesser nobles, I mean. Manpower and tax should be local tax modifier. We'll make that negative. You know, we don't really have to make the money part that bad. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that already hits tax pretty hard, so I don't want to make it too draconian. Local move. Don't have to make it too bad to be pretty painful. So if you don't have roads, you're running around your own territory in a war trying to get to the front. That can be pretty nasty. Okay. Oh no, we want movements. Is negative better or worse for movement speed? I don't know how we can find out. just check buildings really quick. I know roads give a positive local friendly movement speed. Okay, that does kind of answer my question. Oops. Yeah. So it makes our local movement speed worse. And then defensiveness. Well, that's probably like 2,000% right there. Okay. All right, that'll do, pig. That'll do. And then with the burgers, this is where we really do some ball kicking. Local production efficiency. Local trade. I think we're getting close to done. Huh. Trade. Oh, province trade power, I think is what. Province trade power, modifier. There we go. Ta-da. We'll make that 0.25. The autonomy is what's really going to hurt, I think, the most here. Okay, so we have these. And then we just need to localize them real quick. So then let's pull up an appropriate localization file. When I do a proper development streams, I'll be looking at your questions more often, but because we're kind of in a rush here, because I do want to see what everyone has to say, because I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, well, maybe people are showing me a faster way to do it, or maybe someone came up with a good idea. But it's 10:04, so let's just get this in the game so everyone can enjoy the game to its fullest when everything comes out. Okay, the state modifiers. Let's move these over. This is Jizya should not be here, but it is. Oh well. Okay. Greater nobles. Disloyal. So now it'll say this, right, when you hover over the modifier. Greater nobles, disloyal. And then if we want a description, greater, your loyalty with the greater nobles has fallen below 30%, and they are loyalty of the greater nobles has fallen below 30%, and they are expressing their anger. Good enough for now. Remember, these are all going to be removed later, technically. Okay, so let's just grab this real quick. Zoop. Alright. Burgers, disloyal. Lesser, whoops. nobles. Okay. Now we've localized it. We have made the modifiers. We have had the modifiers added when you fall below 30 loyalty. Now we get to test it. Save game. And that is how you do something that seems relatively simple, but as you can see, that took us, actually that wasn't too bad. It was maybe a half an hour. Wasn't too shabby. And we had done the first part of it earlier. So, let's see how many viewers I've lost. The open beta will be on Steam. I don't think so, Mega. I think we're just gonna, it's gonna be in the forums. Yeah, Granada gameplay would be best. Yeah, Nick, I was thinking the same thing. I think I'll make some modding tutorials. I'll make some formal videos. Let's see. Yeah, Louis Ornelas, there's significant siege changes. Mountain Tarragon, you trying to be a EU4 version, saving yourself for MNT 2.0. But you know, it could be as disappointing as the first time you had sex too, though. Just be like, I think it's gonna be wonderful and great, and you fantasize about it every day, all the time, and then it happens, and then you're like, it's kind of not very much fun, kind of painful, disillusioning. Okay, now we gotta test, which means we have to sufficiently piss off our nobles. I know how we can do that. Pissed off both simultaneously. So let's see if it happens. Well, these are burgers, so I'm not going to see them there. Greater nobles. Ta-da! Greater nobles disloyal. Check all the modifiers. Good. Your loyalty with the greater nobles has fallen below 30%, and they're expressing their anger. There's one thing missing here, isn't there? Right? It makes sense that there should be like a notification, right? Oh, event pops up. Noble's angry, and bad things will happen, right? So should we do that? Make sense? I busted in like 2 minutes for my first time. Oh crap, you saw fort defense like super duper low? Oh yeah, what do you know? Oh, that's weird, because it's supposed to be local fort defense. So basically every single modifier that gives defensiveness is applying to every other province in the entire empire. Good catch. Good catch. We would not want that getting loose. So it should be local defensiveness. And now you see how bugs happen. Local defensiveness. Okay, there it is. So let's go ahead and fix that. We head over. It's funny because one of the number one mistakes I make is I put the value in for like discipline incorrectly, and so it's always I often put it in, it's like 1,000 times more powerful than I mean it to be. And so like play testers, they like go and attack some like OPM tribal province or something like that, and they just get like machine gunned down in one round. Like one unit stack wipe. What? My whole army just got obliterated. WTF. There we go. Local defensiveness. That should do it. So we should have an event. We really do need an event to make this work properly. So not hard. Country event. ID. Oops. Well, first we have to figure out where we're going to put the event. It would make sense to put it in estate events, wouldn't it? I would say so. If I can figure out where I put estates events. When in doubt, just open up events. Pop estate events. Here we go. So we're just going to stick it down here somewhere out of the way. Unfinished crisis system here. No, we don't need crises. We just need... Oh, this will work. Right. So, for all you people who want to learn the mod, taking templates is always a nice, quick way to get things done. So I'm just going to take this old template, and that's why I've got all the pictures here. Gradient intervals, low loyalty. Right. I think all privileges will already be frozen, so just remove all these. Okay. And then we're gonna make sure we change the ID. That way it doesn't call the wrong event. And then what we're gonna have it do is we're gonna have it call another event in 5 years, which we're gonna put down here. And what that event is gonna do is, so first off, this one here just fires and says, ah, the burghers or the greater nobles are angry, right? We'll localize that. If we want, we could put global effects in here, but that'll take more time. And this will then notify that they are no longer pissed off. So after 5 years, right, so we have this fire 185 days in the future. And so 1,825 days later, this one fires, notifies you that they are no longer pissed off and that you have made amends. If we want to make it more interesting, we could put like a random list in, so it would fire at some ambiguous time in the future, but we're kind of running low on time. So, and so what we can then have it do is then add some loyalty back to bump you bump you back up into the safe zone. Doesn't need to be a lot, but so first off, this event gets fired from the scripted effect, right, which is adding the penalties. Then the first event, notifying event, this one needs to add loyalty. So let's get all of our loyalty script stuff. I'm just going to stick it on my other screen. We can grab our interactions. Here we go. Like I said, this is generally more simplistic than I generally like to do. It's kind of shallow end of the mechanics, but we kind of need the placeholder. And we can expound on this significantly later. So then what we have, whoops, these are all corruption effects. Goodbye, corruption effects. I don't need you. Okay. So now when we add loyalty, we want to add 5 loyalty, put you in a safe zone. Let's do 6 loyalty, just in case the AI is stupid and like immediately demands support or something like that. Right. So we're setting greater noble loyalty added. That'll be 6. And then we actually need to make the effect happen in the options so the player can see how much they're getting. And that is done with a scripted effect that I made. Because it gets used quite often. And then there's some other things that go along with it. Scripted effect works off of greater noble loyalty added. So I'm setting greater noble loyalty added to the value set up here. And a lot of events, what ends up happening is there's multiple options, so I need to have an A, B, C, D. I'm just sticking to the formula here. So this here all needs to be hidden, because you don't want to see the calculations in the options. Hidden effects. So I'm hiding this, and then what I did was made a special tooltip to display it as though it looks like a vanilla variable. Because all of this is just me hacking. This whole thing is just me hacking the system as far as loyalty is concerned. There's no actual estate stuff going on. I'm just using my own estate system. I'm not using any of the Cossacks scripts. I just made up my own scripts. Right. Okay, so that'll add the loyalty. Loyalty added. So now I just need to do this with the other ones as well, I believe. And then I need to localize these. Oops, you know what? I made a mistake here. I double named them. Okay, I need to rename these. 1 A maybe? 1 B. It's kind of a crappy renaming, but I'll just live with it for now. Okay, I would do it for the lesser nobles. Sorry, this is running long, I understand. A. Oops, no. And I guess I do need to do... and I'm starting to confuse myself. Yeah, I need to rename all these. I'd do a more thorough renaming if I wasn't in a rush. 1 B, and then this needs, the options need to change as well. And when I was teaching college, I used to be really good at talking off the cuff, and so that's why I'm pretty good at describing things, because I used to, describe a lot of, genetics and stuff like that to students. But then when I kind of screw up, I start to get kind of nervous, and I get self-conscious, and I'm like, I think I messed it up. And that's how I feel kind of right now, because I screwed up all my naming. But don't make fun of me. I'm trying. She's like A and A. That's just bad. That's just bad. It's just yuck. It's not the quality you've come to expect from Demi and Sky's work. Okay, so now we need the lesser noble second event. I think we've sorted all that out. And then B, and then we want to grab the effect, right, for the second one. Except it's going to be lesser nobles. I use the same format, right, for all of the estates. That way, all I'm really doing is copying and pasting, and then changing, greater the lesser. No, that's the wrong. Here we go. And you can see how one thing can easily lead to another when you're making these kinds of features, because you start out with a fairly simple concept in your head, and then you realize, like, oh wait, to make it balanced I need to do this thing, and then to make it balanced I need to do this thing. I guess to a lot of people this kind of thing is tedious, but when you see the final product come together, there's a kind of what would you call it? It feels a feeling of accomplishment, a feeling of small victory that to some people it can be kind of addictive to win those small victories. To me, it feels that way, and that's why I always am able to come back and keep working at things. I never really get tired of it. It also gives you an appreciation. Like it makes the tactile feeling of just kind of tapping away at the keyboard pleasurable in a way too. So after a while, I find coding to be a kind of, it just feels good. Well, this is not a shift bad. This is just burgers disloyal or whatever. Let me make sure I renamed all of my options as well. Oh, it's getting so ugly. I'll go back and fix it later. Multi bad. Okay, still good. All right. Hidden effect. Okay, so this one's just supposed to be open. It's just supposed to disloyal notification, just so you know. I'm sure there's a few things I missed along the way. I'll have to go back and check to make sure. Oh, I need an event that fires the next one. I'll have to do that in a second. Okay, this is where loyalty's added back in. Okay, so close. Custom tooltip. Lets you know loyalty added. Okay, so this all needs to be burgers now. Burgers loyalty added. Let's see. Burgers. 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 Save. Now I need to fire the events. Here we go, hidden effects. So the first event in each line now needs to fire that special event. Oh crap, I need to rename that too. Oh boy. Okay. 1B. It's gonna fire. This one fires this one. Not much in the future. So I thought this part was gonna be quick. As it turns out, it is not quick. Mainly because of disorganization. 3. Okay. So now let's localize these in a hurry. I'm gonna bop this over to my other screen right after I do this. And now we're gonna find an appropriate place to localize all these. This file should be fine. Let's just go up to the event section. Here, we'll just stick it here. Okay, so first, .t greater nobles are disloyal. Oh no! All right, and then we have a description. The greater nobles are the loyalty of the greater nobles has declined to such an extent they are nearly an open revolt. This will apply significant negative modifiers to all provinces controlled by the greater nobles. Let's leave it at that for now. I should tell them what the modifiers are, which actually might be pretty easy. I can probably do that. And then we have to localize the option, right, that you select. Outrageous or something. And then when the second event comes, right, 5 years later, that tells you that it's over. Whoops. All right. Greater nobles, anger subsides. After 5 years, conflict, unrest, the greater nobles have made amends with your administration. As any loyal subject should. Because we're lazy, not really so much lazy, but more like time constrained, we're going to go ahead and sort of reuse these. Right, so we're going to use that for lesser nobles. And then we're going to change, whoops, greater in all of these lines with lesser. That is not what I wanted to do. Crap. Okay. So what I did was I changed greater to lesser in every single line of code. I meant to just do it in the selection. There. See? Now it just happened here. Now we do this again for the burgers. Like I said, normally I'd give it more tender love and care, but right now I just want to get it to a finished point. Lesser nobles, burgers in selection. There, so it's localized. Now let's go through real quick, make sure we got everything right. So it's going to fire an event. Greater nobles. Is this the right event? I'm going to check on my ends. No, it is not the right event. This is the right event. Alt's on my minds. What we need here is for the next 5 years. So at least they know. And then we'll add it here, add it here. Okay, so now we have to have the appropriate events fire for all the other estates as well when they fall below the necessary loyalty. And then burgers. And I think we're good. So you see what we did? So we had the scripted effect. Run a bunch of calculations. If loyalty falls below 30, you get this loyalty below 30 thing, prevents you from giving loyalty, assigns all these nasty modifiers, fires an event that notifies you that a bunch of nasty modifiers were assigned. And those events were here. I'm going to check real quick to make sure everything's in line there. Notification event. And then after 5 years, this event fires. Here are the modifiers we made. Here are the localizations that we made. So we're going to do a quick little test. We're going to piss off our nobles. But since we don't want to wait 5 years, what we'll do is we will change it. Where is it? We'll change it so that when the nobles get pissed off, we're just going to change it to 30 days. And so we'll see it. We'll see the modifiers added, and then we'll see the nobles make nice real quick, just for our test. Okay. All right. Let's give it a shot. Phew. That's good. I wanted to get this done. I'm glad I did. I didn't want to release with a big gaping hole in the mechanics, even though it's obviously not. Look, forums. Let's see. Now I gotta find my way back to you guys. Okay. We need M&T group chat. Okay. It's good to be the monarch titles, yeah. Okay. So now we test. Piss off our nobles again. Why did we lose loyalty? That shouldn't happen. Something happened that was weird. Oh no, I demoted. Let's try this again. I really just wanted this to work properly. Okay, yeah, 50% chance. Okay, so that's obvious. I'll just do this. Should not be anger subsides. It should be notifying you that they're pissed. So what happens? 111A. So this is what's firing first. So what did I do wrong? God bless bugs. Greater nobles, low loyalty. Okay. So initially, loyalty, this has nothing to do with it. Here's the event. It's supposed to then fire a country event. It shows up in 30 days. Which is here. It's triggered only, not hidden. So why is it showing up immediately? Immediately. Don't know. Going to check real quick to see if anyone has any advice. Demian, should it fire right away? Can't I handle a privilege before I'm paused? Miguel, no, because that's the whole point. Is that when you're pretty low on loyalty, it's supposed to be dangerous. You know, if there's a sudden shift. Yeah, Alex Brigham, Gaming Rebellion stuff I'm going to release after PDoxCon. That way I can actually participate. did I do wrong? No! Makes no sense. Well, let's see. Firing this event when loyalty goes down. It shouldn't be immediate. Well, this event does fire immediately, which then goes to this event. This is one of those annoying things. Oh, let's do this. Debug mode. Yeah, that is the correct event. Correct event. Days 30. Huh. Yeah, 30 days. Why do you prefer to stream? Yeah, Kubi, I'll be doing Twitch instead eventually. It just happened that I made my developers videos on YouTube, and when I started streaming, I didn't even stream on purpose. I just kind of wasn't expecting people to show up, you know, and it just happened to be where I started it. So I don't know. So sometimes you have weird engine issues where, like, the engine's like, oh, I don't like that you put an A next to your number. So maybe that's it. Yeah, I'll probably switch, it'll, 2 or 3 weeks or something. Agrarian nobles, low loyalty. Ugh, just want this to be fixed so I can play my Roman game. So, in these situations, sometimes what I do is I just go with what I know will work. And I know that'll work. Instead of B's and A's mixed in with numbers. There. So before we change this was actually wrong. Glad I noticed it. Oops. So we'll have this instead call 131, and then we'll have this event call 121. So instantly calls 121, which then will fire 131 in 30 days, hopefully. We have 131 here, and then it fires. Okay, so we're going to test this before we change all the other things to make sure it works. Yeah, Andrew Pitt, I agree with you in that regard. Twitch has such a I don't know, what would you call it, like a tradition of people just like shit posting. So it is kind of YouTube is a little less juvenile, but there's a lot of advantages to Twitch. Part of which is the subscription model. It's much easier to manage from what I'm told, the live chat as well. DDR Jake is Twitch God. How did you do that, Andrew? The idea, artists, is that you can't improve your loyalty until the period is over. Right, so does that kind of answer the question? Sarov, that's the idea. I'd like to get some moderators, some people that are around a lot and they're kind of really into the community, and then kind of make them like leaders. That would be the best way to handle it, in my opinion. Please work. No, it did not work. Oh wait. It did not work. So there's no localization here. So this did fire, but then it fired WTF. WTF. Oh, I didn't rename my localizations. That would be why. Rename these now. Why not? Screwed something up here. What did I screw up here? There. Yuck, Sarif. And the water is shittier, that is for sure. Okay, anyway. Wow, so this is first example of what it looks like to be really pissed off by a bug. Why? So let me think this through. Fires this event, which is not hidden, is triggered only. Country event, pop state events, 131. This should fire, should get the right localization. Days, I'm positive that's right. Yeah, I agree there too, damaged. Our performance is better. That's one of the things I was really working on today, is we had performance issues. Bug introduced that was causing issues. Darn, what is it? Oh, we have the right localizations. Let's try that. Thirty days is not instant. Let me think this through. The only other explanation I can think of... No, that can't be. Country event, ID. It all checks out. Just one to the other. There's no problem. Well, it could be that there's too many events chaining off each other. Could be another engine issue, which would be annoying. Oops, no, I don't want to promote. I want to demote. Oh wait. Now this one's missing the right localization. All right, grain level's disloyal. Let's try this. This is where when you get into engine territories, engine bug territory, then you're just like adding little BS things. We were trying to add distance between events so they don't malfunction. So this is the least interesting part of development, but where you'll spend way more time than you'd like. But I don't mind too much. Those localizations should be fine. Those are the correct event IDs. Well, let's see what people are saying here. Andrew. That's funny. Oh, weird question. Why is the stream in the people and blogs category? Looking. Oh, I see. I should change that, shouldn't I? Gaming. Alright. And a lot of it. Game title. Mew and Texas. 2.0. So those fine details, you know? So let's see what happens when we break it up a bit. Still firing. Okay, am I just completely forgetting some kind of syntax? Tree, events, ID, days, checks out, days equals.
I have a laptop at the office, so I'll have to bring it to
Okay. So we'll just have to do this differently. We're just gonna have to go to the pop pulse. Did I close the pop pulse? There it is. So remember I had that previous bug that was an engine related issue. Fortunately, I had already put an effect here that we can use. So all we gotta do is I'm not sure we can do that. Yes, we can. Okay. To speed things along, I'm gonna move this to another screen so I can work faster. Now this I'm gonna move to the pop pulse, because obviously the whole interactions thing is wonky. Country event, pop pulse. So if it goes below, alright, and I have this modifier. I'm gonna set a flag already hit with GN loyalty. Hey. Yes. Rapidly deteriorating here. It's gone too far. Just wanted to add some stupid little event to let you know when you're getting screwed by your nobles. And now I'm in the workaround territory, and this is why it would be nice to have your own engine. Now I put the equivalent event in each one. Already hit with LN loyalty. If it doesn't work after this, I give up. Okay, so every month it'll check for this modifier for when it's assigned here. All right, same with this and this. So I'm having it firing from a separate event, so there's not any kind of, so it doesn't confuse the engine as much. It's like getting a fresh start, you know. Doesn't seem like it should make any difference, but apparently it does. So now I just need to do one last little thing. I don't need the gap anymore. Hey. Oh no, I took it already. Yep. Alright, nobles, shift bad, shift good. Here's the event in question. Please work. So, on the second event fires, I want to remove, I'm on a separate screen, by the way. I'm going to have this flag removed from the final event that says that you've reconciled. That way, the next time you get your nobles angry, this can all happen again. Okay, adding it to the other events on the other screen. And this is the last test I have the patience for. I'm sure that's true of everybody else too. CLR country flag equals already hit with BG loyalty. Alright. So I'm hoping this works. Last little tuning. These are lesser nobles. Okay, so this is funny. It was working. There was no bug. There was no bug. It was, I just hadn't fixed the lesser nobles, and so it was, yeah, so there was no bug. I don't need this. I do not need this. That was dumb. That was really dumb. This is why you should not code while it is late and you are tired. Ugh, that was so stupid. So it was all fine to begin with. So okay. So let me do it right then. sure everything's named properly. Then we can move forward with confidence. Undo the stupid things that I did. Oops, never mind, I'm screwing it up now. 131. Right, see, I hadn't renamed these events. And when I demoted my greater nobles, it pissed off the greater nobles and the lesser nobles. The greater nobles, because they had been renamed properly, their events, they were operating properly, but I hadn't renamed the lesser nobles, and so it screwed up the lesser nobles. And there it was, the code was just kind of defaulting and screwing up. So that was dumb. This should be 2, 2, 2. Okay. Now I just need to add the events. I don't want to call it self. There. Call shift bad. Days 108, 1825. Alright, almost there. So I apologize for messing this up and slowing things down. So we don't need all of this CLR country flag. That's unnecessary. Okay, we're going to save. Get back to our scaling effects and then put this back in so that it'll fire directly when the loyalty takes a hit. Fires the first event in the chain. Oh, these are burgers. There. Okay. Okay. I think we're good. I got rid of that. Don't need the pop pulse to do what we're trying to do. Now we can officially test. I'm going to go to the lesser nobles 2 now and set them to 30 days. And now, for the last time, hopefully, alright, this is a good experiment in patience. I'm going to rename add description. So anyone watching this in the future knows that there is a lot of sitting around watching coding. Final, debugging, and feature adds. Colonial code. It's a bit of a mess. You'll see the colonial code soon. You did it, Demi, and you did nothing at all. Okay. Alright, here we go. The last and final time. Okay, so nobles are disloyal. You immediately get that event. Oh no! Whatever shall we do? Because it hurt both of the nobility. And then we wait for the 30 days. Nobles, okay, anger subsides. After 5 years of conflict and unrest, the greater nobles have made amends with your administration. Alright, it works. Now we just go back and we make sure the event fires not 30 days, but 5 years later. And that is how you integrate an entire feature. But this version here, I would say, is about this revolt mechanic, quote unquote, is about maybe 200 times less sophisticated than I'd like it to be. So eventually, there will be a lot more involved, and it'll be a lot more interesting. But this is a general placeholder to discourage you from going to, you know, low loyalty. So let's continue the game. Oh no, why do you hate me? Why do you hate me? What happens? Hold on. I don't remember doing anything that made you angry. Oh well, not like it matters. Not playing this game that much longer. Alright, so what do we do with the time we have left? Do we build out Constantinople? Do we expand our urban industries? I kind of want to see what my income is after all of my... there we go. After all of my overextension disappears. You know, what we always needed and didn't get around to was building more roads and more ports. As you can see now, after significant expansion, the state is pretty crappy relative. So I'm trying to leverage 30% state influence over 70% estate power, which means I don't really have very big control over my country. And you can see, you go here, 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 autonomy super high. If I assigned estates, that could help. I've got an idea. I've got a good idea. Okay. What I should be doing is building roads out here. And I should build up a regional capital out here. Or at least maybe on this side of Greece. Let's see if I can find an estuary or a port. Okay. Duras. Well, now you know what I really need? Eventually I'm going to be integrating. So... Darn it, part of Venice. Really does not need to be part of Venice. That's bad. Hum already has a port in the road. So, what I could do is build a regional capital here. But I don't think I have the prerequisites. If you choose, we may expand the bureaucracy of this province, so each level of bureaucracy will require blah blah blah. So what I do need is to build up this city here. Then I can build eventually a regional capital, a superior port. Actually, I lied. Oh. I'm not going to build here. I'm going to build where I already have a fort. Oh, but I can't because it's landlocked. Derp. Okay, cool. A long tradition of metalworking has come to fruition in Thessalonica. The artisans of the city have honed their skills for generations, mastering their craft in rare and specialized ways. So I get to choose. I get to choose if I want. Steel gives military bonuses if I get enough of it. So you can see first off the value here is trade value 3 for 12 metalwork. Now it's trade value 3.6, and if I get enough of it, it gives me a bonus. Take Ragusa. These really need to be part of the Balkan trade node, because then it would allow Venice to pull power from the lower Danube. Let me run this by Cardinal. Cardinal! Hey, Cardinal. In Slack channel. Or maybe I could just ninja this in at the last minute. I don't know how to trade. Anyone know how to change trade nodes? 137. Oh well. I'll ask him. I can always change it tomorrow if I need to. Yay, pointless events. Changing a map image. I did it at one point. I don't... The province ID has to go in somewhere. I do not remember where that somewhere is. It's hard to make friends up here. Yeah, I want to get that stability increase. How do you change the map image? You mean the manufacturing tooltips? Yay! Take the ducats. I really need to get your loyalty down. Okay. So I'm gonna go change that. You know what they say, easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. So I'll do it and I'll be like, hey, I changed this thing. It's probably a good idea. Trade nodes, okay. So it opened in a separate thing. Boop. So we want to find, okay, so it would make sense, right, that a lot of these, especially the major ports, would be in the Balkans, and then Venice would be able to drive more trade into Venice rather than just dominating Italian trade from the other side of the Adriatic. So we want debug mode. Oops. What the? 138. Let me write them down. We want 138, 137, 136. Yeah. We want to put all of those into the Venetian trade node. First, we want to remove them from... I mean, no, we don't want to put them in the Venetian node. Yeah, we want to put them in the Balkan. Venetia. Soup. And this node is the lower Danube. Lower. Balkan. Okay. Apparently it has a name other than Seville, Lisboa, Barcelona, Rhine, Rhone, Paris, Aquitaine, Central Germany, Osmark, Napoli, Danube. Well, I know how we can find out. 3133. Where do you live? Excuse me? Did I not see that? 3133. Did I just find like the weirdest? Did I just find like a crazy bug? No. So why is it called the Danube? Oops. Or am I going crazy? Control. Members. Wait, I need members. Here we go. Alright. Don't know if you can switch up nodes mid-game. Oops. Guess we'll find out. Well, maybe I shouldn't. I could break the save. Alright. Okay, so that should be good. Yeah, end nodes in general are just annoying. They should not exist. Does Balkan trade zone really make sense though? I can see the Danube trade going from Carpathia to Bulgaria. I mean, historically there were no end points to trade. There were just, goods weren't Venetian. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah. It's just not how trade works. Goods don't just swarm into one area from other areas. It's mutualistic transaction. Trade works like thievery, basically, in Europa Universalis. It's very hard coded, Andrew. Oh, really? There should be a mod that makes Alaska an end node. Yeah, it is. I mean, trade is infinitely better than it was in EU3. But yeah, I've already explained how I'd do it. It would be very different. I need loyalty. Or not loyalty, I need stability. I may have come down a little harsh as far as stability availability. I'll have to tune that. Oh, you can, Octavia, so it won't crash my game. Here, I'm gonna find out. Yeah, so Senpei, trade in EU3 took no thought whatsoever. You had merchants, but you just send them out to a trade node. You'd send them to the furthest trade node possible, and then they would collect, and you didn't need yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. You wouldn't even move it home. You would just send out your merchants, and then they would make money, and then they would give you money. So here's the thing: if I was able to change the trade mode, trade map mode, I'm gonna go after Venice. We go after Venice, take all their coastal provinces there, so I can move all the Balkan trade. Yeah, like I said earlier, if I were to do my own trade system, it would code-wise, I'd make it like a flowing river, and the river would change based on wherever people were facilitating the movement of trade. So trade power would be like, hey, move the river toward me. And the closer the river got toward you, the more ducats would spew out onto you as a facilitator of trade. But then individuals on both sides of the trade routes would benefit, because they're getting cheaper goods on both sides. The facilitator benefits. And so when the facilitator becomes more powerful and facilitates trade more, it generates more profit on both sides because more trade. But no, that's not how it works. Yeah, no, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? It's probably because I need to restart the game. Oh well. Yeah, the only reason there are a lot of end nodes in Europe is that, you know, during the Age of Exploration, Europe really began to dominate as well. Indian and Chinese traders didn't come to Europe to act as middlemen and facilitators of trade, but that is the case with Europeans going abroad. Even though there are obviously tons of Chinese and Indian traders. But what's unfortunate is there is historical precedent, right, to suggest that the Chinese could have done the opposite, you know. And so to simply say that, no, China's a giant sink, you know, where, you know, they can never get any trade for themselves, is just kind of annoying. Oh, I lost sounds. Sorry. Oh. I mean, technically, you don't even need trade nodes in theory. Trade nodes aren't necessary. Just, you could easily. So the way I built famines aren't geographically based. See, famines, there's a connectivity between all provinces, and it's like, in every province, it's like you throw a stone in the province, and then based on how strong the famine power is, it radiates outward. And so all other provinces are connected to all other provinces. But the provinces that are closer are more connected. And so you could build a trade system using this method. And it would ultimately end up creating rivulets of trade going throughout the landscape, where it's going to the places of the most supply and demand, but it's also going wherever the most facilitation of trade is, where the most trade power is, right? And trade power would represent, you know, ports and docks and roads, and city accommodations, which help traders do what they do. And so it would naturally create these kinds of rivulets, but they wouldn't be fixed. They would change every year. It would be recalculated. And there would be no end node. You would just see the river itself of trade. And yeah, and then whoever's closest to it ends up making more money off of it as a facilitator. And it ends up going to, you know, wherever the most trade power is. So that is the way I would do it, and it wouldn't even be that hard. Wouldn't be any harder than the way it's done now. Okay. Alright, we got lots of money now. Probably because our overextension, yeah, it's nice and low. So yeah, got lots of money now. Really need to get my conversion on. Whole inflation thing is nice, but guess I don't really have a choice. I don't have any other cheap advisors. Remember, it used to be like just all about spamming advisors. This is like, well, what do I do with all this extra money? Need to get their loyalty up. Okay, so we were building a new like regional capital here. I gotta build up the city. I'd started building up Alexandria a bit. Wow, it's really rebounded a lot. I guess all the provinces have recovered a good bit, so now they're producing more goods. I really should build up Alexandria too, now that I think about it. So we have a merchant guild. We don't want to build any manufacturing stuff. What would really help... Let's see, a merchant quarter is 9... I forgot. We need to redo trade ships. Holy shit! 3.5 trade power. That's way too much. Are you serious? It's like what? So, 3 trade ships are supposed to be as strong as Alexandria. I don't think that's a good thing. Let's read your comments. Commando dude, I'm building up Whom so I can build a regional capital so that I can improve CE on the entire west coast, because there's no way in hell I'm going to integrate Kosovo or conquer any more in the Balkans with horrible communication efficiency. So that's the answer. Antioch I don't think is going to recover, by the way, for those who asked. Unless I intentionally make it recover. So that's why I was building up Whom. I'm going to build another trade port. And that'll bring in superior CE. My runners will hop along the ports, and then a runner will head out from here up to Whom. I haven't started the regional capital yet. You can't just build a regional capital in a cow pasture. You have to build up the urban population. That's what I'm doing right now. Let me take a look at trade ships real quick. They've been in need of balancing. Let's see, units. Holy moly, too many ships. Lights. It's too much to change right now. Trade ships, I think, are too OP though. I mean, 3.5 trade. Haven't even gotten to like armored frigates. Jesus. Who made that change? Yeah, I'm going to integrate Kosovo after I build the regional capital. It's going to take a while though, because you have to kind of like attract some of the actually have to attract some people to live there. Being mountain doesn't affect regional capital, but if I want to build a fort there, it'll be like an outrageously powerful fort. If you were to play as a colonial nation, wouldn't the state have all the power since there would be a power vacuum? There would still be estates there. Sora, what do you mean an already populated province? I wanted something that was distant enough from my previous port, and something super defensible. It already had a few things that I needed. This is 1.21. This is one of the reasons I'm playing too, is I want to make sure there's no extra lurking bugs, which there could be. I'm just warning you because it really did mess us up, unfortunately. So I was trying to compare. So Constantinople, which is this behemoth of trade power, is worth 15 trade ships. I don't know how I feel about that. Mountains inhibit raising of carrying capacity significantly. The warehouses in rural provinces, let's see. Not sure it's worth it. And I kinda, Antioch may not be necessary to improve if I've got Cyprus. Cyprus is pretty nice, actually. Cyprus is really nice. Nice. If I turn them into they are burgers. Oh, I know what I need. I need a level 2 capital. Let's do it. Who would win? One city of the world's desire or 15 idiots on the both? Exactly. Yeah, Professor. It's doable. You'd have to learn the system. Yeah, that. Let's see. Yeah, it's true. Well, I thought I put in a flattening for the capital. Capitals are considered flat. They're all considered plains. And now that I think about it, I'm not sure regional capitals count that way. Oh, really? Are we still doing this? We're still doing floods. I guess I could just stick it in Dalmatia. Sigh. Why can I not? Again. Again. This is the second time I've slaughtered this poor city. Demian, what's that foreign trade company? Can you build trade buildings? No, you can't. In other players' provinces. Again. Sigh. So you started off in rural Serbia. How hard would it be to attract a large urban pop there? Does the game even allow something that ahistorical? You can. Oh, rural Siberia, not Serbia. Siberia would be hard. You can't. There needs to be the foundational food there to really get going. The only time a city really starts tapping into continental food is once they get around 8 or 9 urban population, and to do that, you need at least some food available in the area. And Siberia just isn't going to have it anytime proximate to the rest of the game. Overseas trading posts, they will be, yeah, better represented. Regional capitals, what do they cost in 2.0? Just CE, and do they... The handy thing about regional capitals is they don't just give CE, but they give more states too. So you build regional capitals places, they give you more states, and states are kind of hard to come by now. Oh, just what I needed. Not what I needed. I want my 100 pop Siberian tribe, though. Not gonna happen. Sorry. Andrew, yeah, I was gonna work on that at some point in the future, maybe kind of, because there is a way to stick a country's trade power in a trade node without having any actual presence there. No province. You can do it. You can do it. I was gonna have it be a feature of merchant republics, be one of their special abilities, and so you could, cultivate trade in provinces where you didn't actually have a province there, or in nodes where you didn't actually have a province there. I have a free merchant. That's good to know. Got one here. Got one there. Need one here. Now you can see plague is significantly diminished at this point in history. It only hits, urban areas bad. Sarv, no, they don't. They no longer f you over with corruption, so don't worry. Octavian, the hang-up is that regional capitals cost you money. Where is it? Yep, see? The more you build, the more expensive it becomes. And so eventually it becomes cost prohibitive to spam regional capitals all over the place, because the bureaucracy costs you money. And so the way to think about regional capitals and capitals is the bureaucracy ultimately is an inefficiency on your society. It creates a net loss of productivity, but more resources end up directly in your hands, if that makes sense. Looks like my metropole built somewhere. So let's... Just out of curiosity here. This is what a regional capital would cost up front, but then it would cost about 3 ducats, 3 ducats a month, which is a lot, actually. You can, in fact, lose money via tax income. Depends on the circumstances, Senpei. Which is better, having many regional capitals or super capital? It depends. So just a regular capital improves... I guess we need localizations here. Damn. That sucks. Should we add... I guess... Should We add those in before release. I mean, Athens is part of Greece. It would be nice to give them a nice report. Yeah, Philip, you just build up capitals. It has to be in a decent sized city. I'm totally not paying attention to my Diplo game. Obviously, I mean, this is the last time I'll be playing this game, so I'm just kind of like racing to see how much I can build. Yeah, man, money counts so much. Adding the 300 BC start, yeah. Oh, Philip, capital. So you get a little capital bonus modifier, which is automatic. But the actual capital building does not upgrade on its own. You have to go in, and then you have to upgrade. And it's very expensive. Final release, the beta release is in 3 days for anyone, open beta. Holland would be kind of fun. Keon, I'll still be streaming, I think. What I'd love to do is stream a multiplayer game. That would be so much fun. David, I might. I don't know. We'll see. I expect to be bug fixing a lot. I'm gonna run a bug fix or I'm gonna run a game where people can come in and ask questions. Mali is a pretty fun nation. Diogo, do you mean the Capitol building? I don't. Economic ideas are actually pretty good now. Speaking of ideas, God, I'm still so primitive. Not really. OP. I have travel estates? Nope. Yeah, the Capitol building, no, you don't always want to just improve the Capitol building. The main reason is because they're they're expensive. They cost a lot of money. Oops, I totally wasn't paying attention to that. So you can literally drive yourself broke with capital buildings when you have too many. What does this even do? Whatever. Seems to do nothing. Yay, extra states. Abyssinia should be the logical choice. Yeah, it could be a legacy event. I probably should have removed it while I had the chance. Oh, Jesus. Double Jesus. Double, triple Jesus. No, why? Why? I think the Aegean, isn't it a state? No, I guess it isn't. My loyalty got, my stability got bad fast. What I really should be doing is building roads into the interior of Anatolia. Let's do that, see how that improves my CE. So from the capital, we'll do it from Nicomedia because that's a level 2 port. So run the road down this way. Let's get some manpower involved. Okay, I need some more admin points. Yeah, stability can tank. You know, you have these concentrations of catastrophes that can aggregate into a giant drop in stability. And if I were actually under some strain right now for, you know, either from outside forces or stuff like that, then it would be a lot more worrisome. Rather than, you know, the way it used to work, which was like, oh no, I fell to -3 stability. Good thing I banked up 900 admin points. Click, 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 click. And I found that irritating. You do save up. It doesn't wipe out the points that you had already saved up. See? They're still there. Eventually, with more sophisticated events that are integrated into 2.0, you'll see stability points being tacked on to a lot of different things. Okay, payoff remaining. Good, so we got a pretty good road network through here. Still need more roads into Inner Anatolia, I think. but kind of running low on manpower. We're at peace. We can always hire mercenaries. Yeah, go the way of Magnamundi. Yeah, Magnamundi. They kind of ruined it for everybody, didn't they? Kind of depressing. I don't know. I would love to do it, obviously. But oops. That's what I get for not paying attention. I would love to do it, but you can't take a mod team and turn it into a development team for a real game. It just doesn't work. Because everyone's still in the volunteer mode mentality. And as soon as now you're dealing with money and you can't, and everyone's still in that kind of volunteer mode, and everyone will convince themselves that they're the most valuable person on the team, even though they're only working 3 or 4 hours a day. Like that's how situations like Magnamundi happen, I'm pretty sure. If I ever make a game, it's gonna have to be with a fresh team, maybe some of the people from like this team, but it also needs a less democratic type of production system, because you actually have to make progress and you can't sit around talking about things all day. Yeah, General, what happened with Magnamundi is it was a buggy mess, and it was making very little progress, and it used to be a mod, right? It was a good mod. And they decided to license the CloudSplice engine from Paradox. And Paradox was really cooperative, and they gave them a little money even to get going, and they were really cool about it. But then Magnamundi was making really bad progress, but they were lying about it. That, or they were deluded. And it was mainly the leader of the mod, who was kind of leader of the development team, who was kind of crazy. And he was convinced that everything was perfect and the game was awesome and it was almost ready to release. And this was when, you couldn't even declare war yet. They were like in an alpha build, And they were just totally delusional. And they humiliated Paradox and embarrassed them, and they went through a lawsuit. Paradox tried to pull the plug on it, and then the leader of the development team decided he was going to take it himself, and then he was going to name it something else, and then he was going to release it as something else, even though it was illegal, and so Paradox had to sue them. It's just like this. And of course, Paradox, this was just, the worst part about it is that, Paradox had gone out on a limb to support the project, and then it just made nothing but trouble for him. But never go full Magnamundi. What was the best part again, Andrew? Yeah, but apparently I left out the best part General was asked, so. It's a good thing I'm not getting attacked by anybody. Ooh. Is there a way for me to make this better? I need stability. Ubik then tried to sue Paradox because he said they stole his work. Right. Exactly, Emperor Dude. Pretty forgiving on their part to be willing to support modding and modders personally still. I mean, that's why I'll never ever, be against Paradox or diss them, because they don't make that much money off of modding. Like, it's not a big part of their business model. And yet they do it anyway, just, you know, for the fans. So you gotta be grateful. Let's see what was here. Dude, I can tell you development sometimes can drive you crazy. So I don't doubt that he ended up in an asylum for a while. But he was a little off his rocker to begin with. Yeah, Ubik. I don't know. And Magnamundi had some good parts, but it also had some extremely tedious parts too. Schizophrenia really kills game progress. Right, if you end up with a megalomaniacal leader, right? But it's fun. But they, you know, Ubik, he was insisting that it was balanced and it was great and it was ready to go. And then, when you actually looked, like there was like a beta release or something, and it was just completely unplayable. It was just a disaster, and anyone could see it. And it was almost embarrassing. Like, you feel embarrassed for him. He doesn't even realize that it was garbage. Yeah, so I don't know. Pretty sad. Why not? Let's make Alexandria great again. We can make Cyprus great again too. So yeah, that, to get back to the original point, is the kind of baggage we have to work with when it comes to the possibility of you know, an M&T game, right? So we already have some paper. Let's make some more paper. Maybe that'll give us a bonus. Check that after a year. Ta-da. Let's build a fort in Dalmatia. How about it? What is your stream schedule? I'm going to be coming up with a stream schedule. I'm working with my wife and I are moving into a new house, so I'll have an office. I'm gonna try to make a go at streaming. Yeah, it seems kind of absurd, but it would be nice to try to make a little money off of it, so I can justify spending development time. And then I can ease off my real job, you know, which would be great. As much as I love my real job, actually that's kind of a lie. I don't really love it. It's okay. It's flexible. I do worry about electrocuting myself to death, because I work with electricity and water a lot. So it would be nice to do this type of development, coding work, and tutorials as well. Like I really do want to launch this project, help people learn how to code and become, you know, and kind of make a game with me, so to speak. That would be a lot of fun. Alistar, yeah, quite a few. I've urbanized a number of provinces. Wow, I'm speaking about urbanizing. Goodness. My urban industries are really great, especially around the crown of Marmara. See, I've got paper, I've got luxury paper, luxury paper, luxury silk, luxury silk. I've got luxury steel, and now I'm upgrading all my blues. I see. I have a center of production here. Huh. Do I have a workshop? What's my saturation here anyway? Saturation, I'm way oversaturated. So I'm not going to get much more out of that province. Sim Universalis 2017. Kian Bahamanish, I work with aquariums. And so you have salt water, which is a natural electrolyte, obviously. And then you have high output lights, which have ballasts and a lot of electricity. You have pumps, which have a lot of electricity. You have power heads, which have a lot of electricity and often have stray currents. You have heaters, you have chillers, all of which involves you being in water and possibly severely hurting yourself. I get shocked all the time. I don't know how I can deal with this peasants' war situation. Dunk. Yay. I mean, if you like Paradox, you should make an overhaul mod of Gettysburg. So are rebels going to hit right when the disaster does? My stability tanked for a variety of reasons all at once. Like the aquarium TV show, you make custom aquariums. Yes, I do, except my aquariums don't suck like on Tanked. So, oh boy. Okay, here I go. I'm going on my rant. Okay, I'm gonna rant. Get ready. So like on those TV aquarium shows, all of their stuff is prefabricated, sterile, vacant, dead aquariums. And they set them all up, and they look real fancy schmancy from the outside. They're like, oh, we're going to put an aquarium inside of the chassis of a car or something like that. And and I'm seeing all your comments now. But, oh, cool. Burgers ended up in Alexandria. That means burgers from abroad will want to invest more often. That'll switch later, I think. And improve loyalty. Anyway, but in actuality, what's really going on is, did they build recently? Where did all their money go? If they, let's see, Nobles built. Is that a bug? Is that a bug or? Damn it. What happened? They could have built local fortifications. Oh well, could be a number of things. Anyway, about Tanked. Yes. Okay. So Tanked. Here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna hype myself back up. All right, here it goes. Okay. So this actually relates to the pop overhaul, believe it or not. This conversation about aquariums. It should spur your interest even more. So here's the thing. With those shows like Tanked, they make these really sexy tanks that look great from the outside. And then on the TV show, they they set it up and then they dump a bunch of fish in, they dump a bunch of water in, and the tank looks great for approximately 2 days. But of course, they don't come back afterward and then take a look at the tank after it's full of algae and completely disgusting and all the fish are dead because there's no biotic resistance, so they all get sick. Because, as we all know, nature abhors a vacuum, right? And unless you actually try to create a living ecosystem in an aquarium, it's just going to be a sick cesspool with no nitrogen cycle and no stability whatsoever. And so, in my job, what I actually do is I actually create living ecosystems in aquariums. And that's why I have a lot of that's why I was kind of pretty well suited for this kind of work, because I'm interested in self-regulating ecosystems and what an ecosystem is capable of withstanding and carrying capacity. Every aquarium has a carrying capacity based on how much rugosity you add in the aquarium and how much nitrifying bacteria you have in the aquarium in various parts, and the types of corals that are in there and the types of fish that are in there. But with that aquarium show tank, they don't take any of that into consideration. They just take a box and they put a bunch of big pretty fish in it, and then they fill it with water. Well, fill it with water, then they put the fish in. And then it's just a crappy tank immediately after the cameras go away. We've actually picked up so many of the aquariums from Living Color, which they have a TV show too, and they're just absolutely horrible. Aquaponics, yeah, with Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute, they had a really interesting aquaponics project. Medieval peasants are basically fish. No, yeah, exactly, yes. That is exactly right. Most recent construction, that's more difficult than you'd think to do, actually. We do have diagnostic variables for our purposes. Paradox tanks don't look good the first 2 days. Oh my god, I need to go to sleep before these rebels come. No, there's hardly any rebels though. Can you make me an aquarium? So the pop system in MT is just one big aquarium. I guess the types of pop systems you see in other games resemble types of tanks that Living Color does and the TV show does. Just kind of sterile, cosmetically look like it's a real thing, but there are so many more subtleties in these systems that go missed that really matter. Wow, our urban industry is really cranking up here. Oh, printing press. Why not? I really should go to sleep. I think I found pretty much all the bugs necessary. Why? Okay, here we go. Printing press starts in Germany, I believe. Yeah. I think casual literacy tends to spread pretty easily. But not easily enough. Am I religious unity really that bad? Here's probably the problem. Problem is probably that there are churches all over the place, and churches are not at all a balanced building. Where are the churches? What's my unity? Pretty bad. I'm just gonna jack my church influence through the roof. Well, alright guys, I should call it because I gotta get on a plane not long from now, and I gotta finish packing, and okay. And my wife was so nice; she prepared everything for me, and she made a to-do list. Like she could have bought me a ticket to like Timbuktu or something, and I wouldn't even know. I'd just get on the plane and be like gone. Okay. All right. So, yep, going to Sweden. Quick, show Granada. True. We should really end. Here we go. Granada. Granada looks not too bad. It's gonna be so cold. Good night, don't botch the presentation. It's gonna be glorious. There's gonna be jokes, there's gonna be witticisms and humor. In my incomprehensible American accent. Hey man, I'm big. It's not geographically big. Yeah, Romans. Let me see Alexandria. How? What? Oh, yeah, major center of trade, bitches. Whoa. Oh man, makes me want to keep playing. I'm just sucking the trade out of here. Wow. I bet we're way undersaturated. Oops. No, I don't want to build roads. Oh wait, do I want to build roads? Yes, I want to build roads. Yeah, I'm undersaturated. Wait, what? Wait, that's not right. Hold on, checking for a bug. I know I need to pack. Damaged. I'm gonna have to come up with a schedule and a game plan in a lot of ways. So I'll let you guys know. I'll be around in the stream answering people's questions and fixing bugs and stuff like that, and then developing later. Like I said, I'm gonna try and make a go at it as like a financial project. So, which means I'll be spending a lot of time initially. So we'll see. So you'll probably see a lot more of me for a while at least. Alright, because this game is technically over, I'm gonna harsh treatment you. I just want to see what is going on, why I was so undersaturated. That makes no sense. Okay. So that is the pop. Alright, we're gonna run the game a little longer. Stream on the plane. I know, right? But that's how it feels with MNT 2.0. There's so much of the one more turn mentality. Like, because there's always that new modifier you're going to bag, or that new city you're going to build, or that new trade city you're going to build up. And so now I've got these metropole trade cities, you see, which are steering trade all over the place. Yeah. So, yeah, an Antioch or a Cyprus could then steer trade out of the Levant. I mean, you said trade leaving Poland is what hinders them long term. Food leaving Poland is what hinders them long term. So build up your urban gravity and it keeps your food local. Just seeing if there's something that needs to recalculate here. Yes. Urban saturation 50%. So what would happen here is that very soon population would just go slamming through the roof. But it grew really bad this time. Why is that? Rural saturation is way too high. Urban growth prior year sucks. We should run another year and find out. Yeah, Egypt recovered, but I don't think they have... I mean, Cairo is garbage. I could easily surpass it fairly soon, I think. And then Alexandria could suck up all the food in the Nile Delta and just become huge. But you know what might be suppressing growth? How much food is there? Let's find out. Oops, not farming efficiency. I want extra food. I hope there isn't like a bug here. So they're actually... most of the food is already used. So that could be part of the problem. But Alexandria should still be able to tap into the regional or the continental food. Alright, well, I want to get to the bottom of this because I want to make sure there's no pop bugs. This is exactly the kind of bugs I was looking for to begin with. Could just have been a random seed that rolled bad. We'll see. Okay, last value was 130. There should be huge growth with only 50% urban saturation. So, for instance, Constantinople. See. And I'm almost half saturated already, and it's 1,530 urban pop last pulse. Do we make Constantinople great again? I turned them off, Petro, because it got out of hand. You can turn it on your own game, but Dhaka. What we're gonna do eventually is make trade efficiency into a factor which I'm too tired to explain this. It'll be an interplay between you and the burgers. When you get higher trade efficiency, it'll take money away from them. So it won't, to answer your question, it won't come out of nowhere. Oops, I do not want a fort. What I want is a look at my data. Much better. Okay, that answers my question. It's not bugged. I just needed to build a bunch of stuff and then I had to recalculate. Okay, alright. I really am done this time. What happened to Spain? Did they die or something? No, they're fine. Let's look at Spain. Yeah, not as good as I thought. Not terrible. They probably have, yeah, they're highly decentralized. They have really powerful estates with really freaking big armies. Yowzers. It's a corruption. Way too high. Yeah, so where is it coming from? State corruption. Yeah, I was supposed to disable it, so it's killing everybody because there's no way to remove it. So that's my fault. Their corruption should not be that high, obviously. I bet everybody's corruption's high now. Yeah, okay. I already removed it, so that shouldn't be a big deal. And if it turns out it's not removed, yeah, corruption. Holy crap. The greater and noble corruption's bad too. Oh, no longer a valid rival? I guess I outgrew them. Okay. I really am done for real this time. Shutting off the stream. I'm not listening anymore. Wonder how strong banner. No, I'm done. I'm finished. Goodbye. Okay, thanks for coming. Thank you. Come again. Okay, I'm going to the stop stream button. I'm going to do it this time. I'm clicking. Did I save my game? Not like it matters. Okay. Bye-bye.